They're piled on ice at seafood markets, listed side by side on menus, and often grouped together as if they're interchangeable. But oysters, clams, and mussels are quietly doing very different things beneath their shells. At a glance, they seem similar enough to blur together, yet each one lives differently, grows differently, and even interacts with its environment in its own way. So what's the real difference between oysters, clams, and mussels? Today, we're breaking down what actually sets them apart, from how they live and feed to how they taste and why they matter. Right here, on History of Simple Things. Oysters, clams, and mussels all belong to a group called bivalve mollusks, meaning they are soft-bodied invertebrates protected by two hinged shells. Despite that shared classification, they come from different biological families and evolve distinct survival strategies. Oysters, part of the Oystriddae family, permanently cement themselves to hard surfaces and spend their entire adult lives in one spot. Clams, which include families like Veneridae, are burrowers that live beneath sand or mud, extending siphons upward to filter water while staying hidden. Mussels, commonly from the Mytillidae family, attach themselves using strong byssal threads that anchor them to rocks, pilings, or other surfaces, while still allowing limited repositioning. All three filter feed by pulling water through their gills, extracting plankton and nutrients. But the way they anchor themselves and interact with their surroundings is where their biological differences begin to show. Where these shellfish live tells you a lot about how they survive. Oysters are almost exclusively found in saltwater environments, particularly in estuaries and coastal bays where fresh water mixes with seawater. Over time, they form dense reefs that stabilize shorelines and provide shelter for countless marine species. Clams are far more flexible, living in both freshwater and saltwater environments, buried beneath sandy or muddy surfaces where they are protected from predators and wave action. Mussels occupy both marine and freshwater habitats as well, favoring areas where they can securely anchor themselves, such as rocky coastlines, riverbeds, and aquaculture ropes. These differences in habitat aren't accidental. Each species has adapted its behavior to reduce risk, maximize feeding efficiency, and survive changing water conditions. Their shells make the differences between oysters, clams, and mussels easy to spot once you know what to look for. Oyster shells are thick, rough, and irregularly shaped, often growing lopsided because one shell is permanently attached to a surface. Clam shells tend to be smoother and more symmetrical, with rounded or oval shapes that close tightly to protect the animal while it's buried. Mussel shells are elongated and narrow, usually dark blue, green, or black, and noticeably sleeker than oyster shells. These physical traits aren't just cosmetic. Shell shape reflects how each animal lives, whether it's cemented in place, buried in sediment, or anchored against waves and currents. The way oysters, clams, and mussels taste is directly influenced by their environments and lifestyles. Oysters are known for their briny, mineral-forward flavor, which can vary dramatically depending on the water they come from, sometimes tasting clean and mild, other times sharp and intensely oceanic. Clams generally offer a more balanced flavor, combining saltiness with a subtle sweetness, and their meat tends to be firmer and chewier, especially after cooking. Mussels are typically milder and slightly sweet, with a tender texture that becomes delicate when properly cooked. While all three can become tough if overcooked, each has a distinct mouthfeel and flavor profile that makes them better suited for different dishes. In cooking, Oysters, clams, and mussels are treated very differently. Oysters are most famously eaten raw on the half shell, where their natural flavor is the main attraction, though they're also enjoyed grilled, baked, or stewed. Clams are extremely versatile. Smaller varieties can be eaten raw, but most are cooked in soups, chowders, pasta dishes, and steam preparations. Mussels are almost always cooked, commonly steamed until their shells open, absorbing the flavors of broths made with wine, herbs, garlic, or spices. While clams and mussels often share similar cooking methods, oysters stand apart for how frequently they're served raw and how strongly their flavor reflects their origin. From a nutritional standpoint, oysters, clams, and mussels are all low-fat, high-protein foods packed with essential nutrients. Oysters are especially rich in zinc, which supports immune health, while clams and mussels provide high levels of vitamin B12, iron, and omega-3 fatty acids. Beyond nutrition, these shellfish are considered among the most sustainable forms of seafood. Because they filter feed naturally, they require no added feed in farming and actively improve water quality by removing excess nutrients and particles. Responsible aquaculture of oysters and mussels in particular is often cited as beneficial for both ecosystems and coastal economies when properly managed. Although oysters, clams, and mussels are often grouped together, their differences are deeper than most people realize. They vary in how they anchor themselves, where they live, how their shells form, and how they taste and are prepared. Oysters are stationary reef builders with bold, briny flavors. Clams are adaptable burrowers with firm, balanced meat, and mussels are skilled anchors with tender, mild flesh. Understanding these distinctions helps explain not only how we cook and eat them, but also why they play such important roles in aquatic ecosystems. The next time you see them side by side, you'll know that beneath their shells, they're anything but the same. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.